Louie Palmer, welcome back to PlayBetterDrums.com, and here is another lick of the month lesson, a nice 16th note triplet phrase, but we're going to start the phrase with a double kick phrase rather than a typical right hand on a tom or right hand on a crash and a bass drum. So we're disguising the beginning of the pattern a little bit, which I like, especially when you get to more brisk tempos. It disguises that downbeat or the beginning of the pattern and makes the hand note stick out a little bit more, particularly when we get to some of the other variations. Exact same sticking, but we're just going to orchestrate it differently and put different accents in with those hand notes, and then it really makes those stick out. So up to speed, the pattern sounds like this. So I played a couple of the other variations and we'll get to those. The first one to start with, I think the easiest one, is this one. And the second half of the bar is just two paradiddle-diddles. So that's, you could set aside, that's the easier part of the bar. First half of the bar, two groups of six. The sticking is this. That's the first chunk, and we're going to be playing the hi-hat when you introduce that. Perhaps the first thing to do is get the sticking down, and then when you introduce the hi-hat, just note that it's on that first note of the double kick, which is harder than it sounds. To get that really even, plus execute the hand notes, just be aware of your precision. So 2 footnotes, 4 hand notes, and then we're going to do 2 feet, 2 hands, 2 feet. So another time when we're playing a double kick, the beginning of a double kick phrase with the hi-hat. And then immediately after that last double kick phrase, we then have a right hand starting the paradiddle-diddles. So the whole phrase. So make sure that you can hear the triplets. And it's a little harder to hear that triplet sound because of the way we're orchestrating around the drums and disguising the beginning of the phrase. And so the only real accents at the moment, I would say, are the first note of each paradiddle-diddle. And there are some dynamics in the first half, but that's really up to you as to how you play that. So there's not really specific accents at this point, but there is a little bit of hills and valleys going on, particularly on that bit. You could slightly accent that left hand just to bring that out. And those paradiddle-diddle notes on the snare drum, when you're not accenting, they should be super, super quiet. So that's the first one to get down, and also get down with the hi-hat so you can get that rolling nice and smooth, even at slow tempos. And then we can do some variations. So we can change a note to a snare drum. Instead of that floor tom, we can put that right hand on the snare drum and accent. And I prefer that one to the previous one. Just taking away a tom note and adding a snare drum breaks it up a little bit. And we can continue using that change in the other variations. So the third variation is to then start the phrase, instead of those singles being there, we can change them to and now changing the beginning bit, that middle bit that we just talked about, changing from a floor tom to a snare drum, you could do either. So you could alternate. So that's another one. And then you can combine all of these together, of course, one after the other. And then my favorite one is where we change the beginning to this. And again, that middle bit is optional, whether we play the floor tom or the snare drum. It's nice to play the snare drum because we've also got that fourth note of the hands sticking out. So now that's my favorite one. It's a little tricky with getting that left hand down. Feels alien at first, but you've got to just slow it down. Maybe just do that pattern. Just to get that going. And then, of course, there are many others you could come up with. For the beginning part. So now I'll just give an example, as I often do, where I'll just try and string them together. And this is what I'll do in practice. I'll take one pattern that I've come across or kind of fallen into, may just be the beginning part of something like this, and then I try and put something together. And you just experiment and try and place things in as many different places as you can, orchestrate them as many different ways as you can. So I'll give an example of just playing around with it.